free one I found. The other ones was 90. See, they call it pun, which is I know what Photon you do.
Oh, just sort by price up at the top if you want. Lowest, low to high. There you go. Although you had the link, so.
Photon Bolt. See, it's grayed out because I already have it.
Go ahead and re-import it.
Say import in.
And we'll just see what you were, we'll see what you were missing. You don't really, I was going to say you don't even need the demos, but that's okay.
I need to comment that other one out, right? Yeah, Photon wrapper. Okay. Why is it not? Okay. There we go. Do I need to do anything with this?
Yes.
Okay. I hadn't seen this before, so.
That may have been the problem.
Do I do set? I guess I do set a project.
Set a project, and
because I've already made an account in.
Now you have to go log in to that dashboard.
Is registered, so we can't. It's in the Photon engine. Yeah, it already came up. Where's login? Usually, I guess when I try to do that, it'll.
Well, the server is different, So you don't need these. Well, you could use my server right now if you want.
Well, it knows me. I'm already logged in. Apparently, I don't need it.
So you need, but you need a key also for not just the server, but for Photon Cloud as well.
Okay.
So click on, you want to go to the real time.
Create an account. You're already signed in.
So click on your profile then. And click on your applications. And create a new app.
What should I call it?
You can just put StreamSDK for now if you want. You can put whatever you want. I don't think it much matters.
Do I need a URL?
I don't think those are necessary. So you could just hit create. And then what you'll do is you'll take that app ID if you click on those letters right there. Copy that. And when you go back to Unity, this is where you'll paste that into the
Okay.
There you go. So now hit close, and then there's the Photon server setting. So if you look in the inspector.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
So right now, what I'll do is, you're going to want to install your Photon server and get that up and running as well. And the instructions are in the docs. But for right now, if you want to switch this just to get it up and running real quick, you can use my server.
I still need to comment out that. What's it called? I was in there on the instructions.
Photon wrapper. It's photonwrapper.cs.
All right.
I'll have to send you my app ID if you're going to use my. I'm trying to think of. You might be able to. I'm trying to think if you have to. I haven't crossed self-hosted with my ID, so I'm not sure how that will work out.
Okay.
I suppose it might work. So that'll be something new. I haven't tried that before. We can try it, and then worst case scenario, you've got to set up your own. So yeah, you just comment out the submit there.
Yeah, that I got that far. But just that file wasn't showing up. It probably, that window didn't come up because I hadn't done this on the version that I was supposed to. So it's called what's it called again? Photon network settings.
Server settings.
Photon server setting.
Mm-hmm. There it is, right there.
All right, and then
yeah, so it's in the inspector right there. All right, going to the
I was just looking at
go to the docs if you want.
Define submit, and then this. Do I need to? So the server address and all that. That's the app ID is that same.
So that's my app ID right there. That's not your app ID.
Well, I'm saying is that the one is that what I just pasted in that window?
Yeah, you already put your app ID in there. So you can go back to Unity, leave your app ID in there. You can set the hosting to self-hosted. We're going to try this real quick. I'm not sure if this is actually going to work, but put 72.218.134.72. And then port number 4530, I think. Hold on, let me check that real quick. Pretty sure that's what it is. All right. So yeah, port 4530, that's right. And change the protocol to TCP. Port 4530.
All right.
And that should be good to go. So one thing I haven't tried, like I said before, is actually connecting to my server using your app ID. I'm not sure if that's actually going to work, so you might need to set your own server up. I know you downloaded it. So why don't you go ahead and expand the StreamSDK folder and open up the video chat scene in the demo. The first one. The others are three and four-way video chats, but we just need a one. And hit play and keep the console exposed so we can see the console. I'm not sure if this will work with us on Skype, by the way. Or you might need to release your camera from Skype. I guess we'll see. Okay, that looks all right. So you got your. If you turn your warnings off, you might want to turn your warnings off and just look at the. Yeah, that's on the right side of the console. Oh, you cleared it. That's okay. So this is basic video chat demo. It's basically there to show you how you would set something like this up. You could try test stream. We'll see if it works while Skype is going. I don't know if you have your camera going.
Yeah, just turned on.
Okay.
That is the inside of a sticker that covers it up.
Oh, wonderful. There you go. There was a guy that invented like a little clip that you could put on there to block cameras. All right, there you go. So what you're doing right now is you're sending a video stream to yourself and then picking it back up. So you and I now at this point could switch to the StreamSDK video chat, but you're basically in test mode for video chat right now. So you could hit quit video chat at the bottom, or yeah, you can just stop it. There are a few other demos, so you can go over to project. If you go back to the project view.
Yeah.
So there's a car demo. There are a bunch of demos, but you can go to the regular car demo right there that just says car. And hit play. And hit, you can test it out if you want.
Does it use my camera again, or?
It does use the camera, yeah, but it just puts a little thumbnail there. So, yeah, what you're doing right there is you've got, the car on the left, of course, is your native view of what's going on, and the car on the right is the video view.
Okay.
And you can change settings. Right now, it's it's running at 720p. One thing you're going to want to do for this car demo real quick, hit escape, and then stop the demo.
Is that
just with the play button? Yeah, you can go through the options if you want. But you're going to want to go to the player settings for Unity, which I think on Windows is under Edit. Project settings, hold that window up, yeah, and go to player. I'm sorry, go to input, my bad. Expand those axes and expand the horizontal and the vertical, but change the gravity and the sensitivity to 1000. No, not that. There you go. And sensitivity to 1000. And then go to vertical. Do the same thing. So these demos, these car demos especially, are really affected by the latency caused by that. So you can go back to the car demo and hit play, and you'll probably notice that the controls are a whole lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also run through those options if you want. So there's audio, video options. There's a calibrate mic, all that stuff. So yeah, you can try driving again though. See if it's a little easier for you. See if you can drive without spinning out. You're doing a little better. So what's your frame rate like there? Through Skype, it doesn't look that great, but
where do I see what that is?
Oh, you can click on the stats button in the upper right-hand corner of that. So I don't know what kind of box you're running there, but okay. So you're not getting really good frame rate right there. I mean, it's probably because we're running Skype at the same time, but you can hit escape. And you can go to options, and it's also dependent on your machine and everything like that, but you can go to video, and you can lower the stream, try a 360p, or try a 360p stream, and we'll see what you're doing there. And also change the display type. Hit the video button again. Change the display type to clone. That actually will reduce the number of renders that you're doing. And back. And then try again. Plus, you're also processing both. There you go. So you're getting better frame rate now. And again, we're running Skype on top of this as well, so you'll do better. And then you'll do better if you're just connected to one other person. And when you're doing test mode, you're doing a lot.
All right.
So one of the things I wanted to do is just walk people through a setup of this and just broadcast this out, because I'm perfectly willing to sit down with as many people as possible need this. I had a good conversation with the developer last night, help get them set up, helping get you get set up right now. And I figured, this is a good opportunity to go ahead and record this and put it up on LinkedIn and on the other social media platforms so that people can see, really what it is all about, how to get it set up. It's actually, I think, very easy, although the documentation is still intimidating. We're going to convert that documentation over to a link-based, something that's just built right into the website instead of the large PDF document. But I had to start somewhere. And
the only problem I had was doing I didn't do it on the right version, so it didn't come up.
Right.
That was it. So, I guess just make sure people know that get 1.8.
I think that's on the first page of the docs.
It is,
but there's just so much. It's just so much text, So we'll get that sorted out.
All right. So is there anything else I need to do? I don't know if there's any. I guess there's other.
There's other demos and stuff. I can give you a quick explanation of the demos. And yes, there is the Photon server. You and I could connect. Let's see right now if you and I can actually connect using my server with both of us using different app IDs. That's something I'm not sure will actually work. I'm not sure how Photon handles that. But we'll just connect in the video chat demo. I guess I'll turn off. What I'll probably do is turn off my camera in Skype, and I can still record your screen, and you can still hear my audio. And so I'll jump into the video chat demo and see if this is going to work right now. So I created it, and then let's see, you should be able to hit join.
Does it know? Okay.
Hey, cool. So it's working. So we're Skyping and we're using StreamSDK video chat at the same time. And, we probably want to turn the audio off on one of them. But I'll leave the Skype audio on right now.
I don't think I hear you in both. I'm not hearing like an echo or anything.
Yeah, good.
So frame rate is Skype, about 20. So, okay.
Yeah, I'm getting, 80. I'm getting 70, 80 frames per second here. But
well, I mean, if I hard connect to the router, I'll probably get better. I'm on Wi-Fi right now. This isn't bad for Wi-Fi.
And it's totally it is dependent on what machine you have, as well. I mean, this is running through Unity's pipeline, and there's a lot of things you can do to improve the frame rate, and there's a lot of things that you can do, otherwise. And it could be, if your internet connection is splotchy, it is gonna affect the frame rate for sure. So, but yeah, so we were able to connect. This is cool because we just figured out that we can connect using my self-hosted server, using 2 different app ID, because I'm using my app ID, you're using yours, and we're able to connect over this server, which I think is yeah, because you're totally using your own Photon app ID.
Yep.
Yeah, interesting.
Okay.
So kind of cool. So I'll quit that. And do you want to jump into the car demo real quick, and I'll try to show you. I'll show you that.
Okay. So we're gonna play together. Is that what you're?
Yeah. Well, let's see. I'm interested to see what the Skype video is like. I haven't really done this, so I hope the Skype video turns out all right. But yeah, basically, I'll be able to see what you see, and you'll be able to see what I see, and we're not in the same environment exactly together, but I'm gonna lower my resolution for you there, and then I'm just gonna turn off my audio. So in StreamSDK, I'm gonna turn my audio to none, so that I'm not sending you any audio out of StreamSDK. So we'll just use Skype audio for right now. But if you go through those options, you'll see that StreamSDK allows you to choose whether you're sending microphone, whether you're sending audio from the game. You can choose at what sample rate you want to send that audio. It'll upsample, downsample, it'll do all that stuff. So, all right, so I just created a session, so you should be able to join. And there we go. So you're driving on, on my screen, of course, you're driving on the right and I'm driving on the left. On your screen, you're driving on the left and I'm driving on the right. And I'm assuming that Skype is recording what I have in my Skype window, which is your scene.
My screen of me watching you, watching us, watching you.
Right.
Got it.
And I've got, I had my frame rate actually set up to like 60 or 90 frames or something. So I've been experimenting. For the next version, I want to make sure that we can do 60 FPS. So I've got my stream set extremely high. I don't know what it's coming in for you.
It says 20 right now. It's holding steady around 20.
That's your local frame rate, but the frames that I'm sending you are going to be different from that. And its potential.
It looks about the same, and it drops a second every so often. But I mean, again, we're connected twice.
And I was going to say one of the other things about that is, if you're playing one of the other demos, which are there's a cloud controller and there's a broadcast with an instant viewer, so you're going to get the frame rate from the host as long as your computer can keep up. If you're running something low end, then it won't work. But basically, a game that will only run at 20 frames per second on your computer, if you're receiving a cloudcast of that, an instant viewer, you can then receive that game at 60 frames per second. All right, I'm back. All right, so you've got so we come back to Unity, and what I'll do right now is I just started up the Cloudcast, so you can hit join.
I don't have a join button.
Oh, it's the top button. Sorry, it doesn't say join, but that top button. And yeah, there you go. So start driving. So you're driving, and your frame rate, the frame rate of your computer may not be better, but I would assume it probably is.
It says 79, 64. It's going between 60 and...
Yeah, so you're getting 60 frames per second now, and what you're doing is you're controlling my computer. And so my computer is quicker at rendering than your computer, and so you're actually getting the benefits of that as you stream this from my computer to your computer.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so you're getting a 360p stream now at 60 frames per second. Okay. And I am running this on an 8-year-old MacBook, by the way, but
well, it just shows what you can do with, almost nothing in this current situation is optimal.
No, yeah, definitely.
And it's still, not really having a problem. I mean, the latency is making the controls all. I mean, I'm kind of doing okay. If I kind of got used to.
Oh yeah, driving native. And something to be aware of is I have written another controller that is better than that one. So that controller is not great. That's the first input controller that I wrote, and I have a new version that's coming in, 3.0.1. So the new version of the new controller is much more optimized, and it also handles multi-user input from as many sources as you want. So I actually have a version of SwapFire coming that has the 4-player split screen. It receives input from 4 separate sources and then broadcasts the split screen back out to everybody. So it's pretty cool.
I wish I could do Ballistic Buffet that way.
Yeah, you totally could.
Because I've been trying to do online for a while. Game Maker doesn't know how to do, or maybe I'm sure it can. I just don't know how to do it. How to do client and hosting and that kind of stuff for it. So, in my any game I make that's multiplayer, I want to have local, online, and bots. That's every time I play multiplayer, there's always some situation where someone can't play, and I don't. If I'm alone, I want to make AI do it. If someone's next to me, I want them to be able to play it.
Definitely. So anyway, yeah, if you want to make the cool thing about StreamSDK is if you want to get into that end of it, if you get stuck, press the R button. There you go. Okay. But with StreamSDK, you could make basically a local multiplayer game, and then you can make it online multiplayer without having to rewrite any of the game code. So that's the neat thing about SwapFire is they took a Wii U game that was a 5-player local multiplayer on a console, ported it to the PC, and then turned it into online multiplayer, and I did that in like a day. It didn't take long. The biggest headache was actually porting it to the PC. So the StreamSDK part of it was relatively straightforward, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah, people were when I was in school, the teacher asked what we thought the future of gaming was, and I think this decentralized cloud-based thing is really what's next. So cool.
I'm all about it. There's so many lessons that I've learned over the years that I think are sort of playing out in front of me now about obviously the indie game movement, and obviously a lot of the decentralized technologies that we're seeing from the cryptocurrency space. There's a sort of philosophy with that, so I'm pretty keen to continue exploring it. And as you can see here, we're not using any cloud servers or anything like that. This is literally, I got a sort of low-level PC running the server at my place. This game is being run off an 8-year-old MacBook Pro. Jeremy's down in North Carolina playing it on his PC, which is by itself wasn't able to run the game, but with Skype running anyway at the same time, 20 frames per second or something. Now when you're streaming it from my computer to your computer, you're getting 60 to 80 frames per second. So
and on Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and on Wi-Fi. Yeah. So it's just a little bit of assessment. You saw we were able to connect over video chat while we were Skyping at the same time. And the demos that StreamSDK comes with, they're just kind of a quick smorgasbord to show you a little bit of what you could do with it. But there's a lot more you can do with it. I've had other projects that I've worked for people on using it that we're routing the audio and the video in all sorts of different ways, different VR projects, AR projects. We've had people that want to send desktop to an AR device. We've had people that want to do VR motion controls and separate. They want separate audio devices picking up the stream and sending it one place and sending it another place. And it basically just allows you to send any audio, video, and input and route it any which way you want over any network infrastructure. So, and I think it sounds, when I try to describe it that way, I know people are confused about it. What is it? People want to get a clear picture of what it is. And I don't know how to define it any better than saying it lets you route any audio, any video, any input that Unity can render, from any device to any device over any infrastructure. But hopefully seeing these demos and watching us set it up in a video like this will give other people an idea of, oh, okay, I pull this project in, the project's clean, there's plenty of documentation, and of course I'm willing to help any other developers that are out there like Jeremy who want to just kind of have a one-on-one, and I'll get you set up and get started. So
it's basically peer-to-peer streaming, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously, if you wanted to do it as a cloud-to-client thing, you could do that. But yeah, you can do it peer-to-peer.
So I guess it's more. Well, I was trying to simplify what you were talking about, but I guess it's too complicated to really even have. It can't have like a tagline. You can't really do that with this. It is basically a network connection that can be done with basically anything.
Yeah, it can do. I mean, there's so much you can do with it. I've seen so many applications. So, Microsoft used this, I think, with one of their HoloLens projects about a year and a half ago, and Charter Communications used it to do 360 streaming video from a camera. They had a 360 camera. They wanted to broadcast it into a VR headset in real time. They did that. We've had some 3D modeling companies using it to do, sort of like external views. There's all sorts of use cases that I've seen. Like I said, I think there was an AR company that wanted to do, I think they wanted to do a remote desktop in augmented reality or something like that. They wanted mouse control remotely, and there was a couple of companies doing that. And there's a number of ways to bring desktops into Unity, so not a problem. I think there are all kinds of reasons why you would want to bring, why you would want to teleport Unity content from one client to another. And the peer-to-peer, or the really, I'd like to say more the decentralized nature of it is, I think, is important. But there's just countless things that you could build with it. You're having fun driving that car, though, aren't you? It's more fun driving it across stream than it is on your.
Oh, I didn't.
Wheels.
I wasn't driving fast enough. I thought I was making the loop, and then my car would just drifted off of it. I'm like, oh great, it's Rainbow Road.
Did you? Let's see. I just switched. Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. I just switched from Unity to Skype, and I think it.
Yeah, I was wondering why.
It didn't like that on my end anyway. I saw it freeze in Skype, so I'll just leave it open. Leave Unity open. And yeah, we were lucky tonight also because we connected two Unity projects together. And in the conversation I had last night with somebody, one of the things that we had to do was align our RPCs in that Photon server settings asset. So if you look at that, there's a list of RPCs, which stands for remote procedure calls. So those are the functions that you can call over the network. And those do have to be in the same order between Unity projects. So we were lucky tonight. I mean, I didn't send you my project, so we didn't, you started a new project from scratch and just installed all this stuff. And we just happened to get lucky that when everything compiled or the order that you brought it in, those RPCs came in the right order. But yesterday, one of them, it was in index 15 or 22 for me, and it was in, I think, 15 for me, and it was in 22 for him, and so it wasn't. We had to synchronize that, but that was one of the only things, one of the only hangups. So I think generally pretty easy to set up, and the demo should give you a good idea of how to get started. I guess if I don't know if you want to go through one of the hierarchies just to show people the general setup.
Does it need to be? I mean, we can. I guess we'll stop.
Yeah, if you stop it, yeah, we'll go back. So if you expand, and yeah, just to show people, I mean, I have this stuff in the documentation, but if you expand the StreamSDK component and you look under there, so if you click on StreamSDK, the top level component there, and yeah, that's good. So we can see the inspector, but click on the actual top level StreamSDK component, and I'll try to explain to people what's going on there. I mean, basically, Jeremy just put in his keys, and right now he is playing the cloud controller, so he doesn't need a stream camera because he wasn't streaming anything to me. He was just receiving. And if he expands the stream displays tab there, you see he's got one stream display, so that's where he was receiving the video from my end. And then there's the advanced options. So, you know, these options by default are set to essentially try to emulate what StreamSDK 2 used to do, but this you can change, you know, your audio type, whether you're getting just microphone, whether you're getting in-game audio, whether you're getting mic plus in-game audio, whether you're, you know, have none mute, and in the documentation explains what all those do. There's the audio buffer size field, and that's useful in certain cases. If you're getting choppy audio, you can increase that. You've got the clone depth and the clone layer, and that is just to control where that will be rendered relative to your other cameras. So if you have a lot of cameras in your scene, or, you know, depending on what the cameras in your scene are, you can change those. And there's also that clone rect, so that'll determine, you know, that's a sort of normalized viewport rect of where the clone layer will appear on the screen. And then you've got the display type, which you have native, clone, and blind. So native is going to do a full render of the game again on top of whatever the stream render is. And so if you use clone, and say if you use clone and you're streaming at 180p, then what you're going to do is you're going to have a native, you know, you're going to have a view of the game or whatever the content is on your end also at 180p, as well as the 180p that you're sending over the network. You know, if you're using 360p, it'll be 360. If you're using 720, it'll be 720. You know, if you're using the maxed out resolution, whatever the highest is, and you're running clone that way, it's okay. But if you want a really crisp, clear view on your side, that's a completely native render, you want to use native, which is a little bit less performant. Obviously, if you use clone, you're going to get a savings there. And then blind is if, you know, you're running this box or this application like a, you know, just something in the background, like if you got this thing on a server rack or something and you don't want it actually rendering anything on the local machine, you know, you don't want to see that, you can just put it in blind mode. And of course those options can be controlled from across the network, so somebody might say, well, I just want to run blind. There's the graphics type field down there, which does a little bit of the video processing, slightly different essentially under each of those subjects, you know, whether you're using AR, VR, game 2D, 3D, video chat, they're all slightly different, just to tweak it for each of those types of video streaming. And yeah, I mean, we have it set to video chat right now, but I think we were in the, well, and to be fair, Jeremy is just the receiver of the video right now on the other side. So those settings affect what you're sending, right? So the graphics type is when you're the sender, and the same thing for the audio type and all that. So those are all assuming that if you're the sender, you know, the audio type, the display type, the graphics type, and all that. The clone layer, of course, yeah, all that. I think all that is actually send side. So you can minimize that. And then if you head over to the transporter, you'll see, you know, the StreamSDK transporter, this is basically, it wraps any network layer that you might have. So if you're using Photon, you know, you can still just use the transporter, and it has a standardized set of commands that pretty much all networking libraries use, which are like, you know, connect, disconnect, send data. You know, they all do it slightly differently, but the transporter essentially wraps all those. And the content container, you don't necessarily have to have a content container, but the way I've set these demos up is essentially we've got the menu for StreamSDK, and then we've got some content presumably that we're going to want to start streaming. And I have other demos that don't do that. So, Swapfire, for example, I wrote I've got an auto start that there's no menus or anything like that for StreamSDK. It just boots into the game, and then anybody can instantly connect to the game. They can drive all the menus of the game and everything remotely. So, but in this case, the content container, and then when it makes a connection, it will essentially turn on the content and it will turn off the menu and all that. The number, you've got the number of receivers there, which is in this case, you're fine to be just one receiver. The room name, cloud car, the send rate, that's how many network packets per second will be sent. And then you've got those checkboxes. You've got the test checked box, and you've got the send audio, send video, send control, send mouse. So those are the sort of different send types, and you can basically control if any of that data is going to be sent right through the transporter. So if you don't want to send audio or video or whatever, just uncheck them. For example, right now you're in this cloud controller scene. So, I might want to hear your audio depending on what we're doing. So I had it, the audio checked and the control checked, because you're controlling the car from remote, and we might want to do a thing where you're driving the car and I could hear you, talking, or you could be sending some audio back. We had the override photon server. I sort of skipped over a couple of things, which were the override photon server settings and the reload scene. So the override photon server setting, what that will do is that asset at the beginning of the video that we were talking about, which was the photon server settings, you can actually override everything that asset does in code, and there are some examples of that inside of I think it's inside the photon wrapper, but it might be in the transporter itself. I think it's in the wrapper though. And that's basically, if you wanted to, allow this thing to dynamically pull IP addresses or server, different connections, maybe from a database or something, and you don't want to use that asset, then you could skip that stuff and you could override those settings. The reload scene. So right now, the way all these demos operate is it's one scene that you basically switch back and forth between the content and between the StreamSDK menu, and there's no reloading. I did that because, to be quite honest, I had an issue with WebGL where it did not like reloading scenes, and so I decided to make all the demos basically just run inside of one scene, and that's an issue that I figured I would take a look at a later version of Unity when I was doing the next version. But it plays really nicely with WebGL if you don't reload a scene, and it had an issue, so I sort of added that and said, well, people could make a scene that just runs like all these do, or if they want to reload, they can check that. If they have a game or application that needs to reload scenes, you can check that, and it will do a little bit. It'll do some different things if you check that box. But and then you've got the cloud controller there, which I don't know if it shows much in the inspector. That's basically just a script that will send and receive input. And if you go to the shell, this is the whole menu for StreamSDK. Sort of expand that. The menu canvas, if you expand that. Look at the UI manager first. That's pretty simple. The UI manager is there basically if you expand the containers. So you basically just send a message to StreamSDK UI manager at any point and say show container main menu, show container options network, and it'll show that container. It'll hide the rest. So it's just an easy way to flip on and off the various menu panes. But if you expand the menu canvas, we can sort of dive into one of the options. If you go to options, let's see, we'll go to options audio. This was one that popped up. You and I didn't do audio tonight, but go down to, let's see. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. Expand the calibrate mic. I want to cover this in the video just because last night this came up. And then go to the mic, click on mic sensitivity. And then over in the inspector, we'll take a look at that real quick. So this is if you go to the inspector and scroll down, right now it's basically saying that there's no component, no message. This will actually auto assign when you run it. So if you hit play, you'll actually see that thing. You'll see a component get assigned, and you'll see a message get assigned. And the documentation explains how this works, but it basically depends on what you name your game objects in the Unity scene, right? So this is looking for set mic sensitivity. based on the name mic sensitivity, which is that game object, which is a slider. And the interesting thing about this slider is, let's see, max value 1. So this is right. I'm trying to think what demo we were in. I think we were in the video chat demo, and at some point I must have set it low, but this slider in this scene is correct. And I believe the shell is a prefab, so this is very interesting. But it has min value of 0, max value of 1, and yeah, when you go into to look at that sensitivity, the left side of the screen is going to be a 0, and the right side is going to be 1. It's a little counterintuitive, but basically the further to the right it is, the more audio it will block out, right? And you can see it says more sensitive, more echo, less sensitive, dropped syllables, right? So the further to the right, if you just want to block out all audio, and you can actually hear me talking in Jeremy's, machine, because when he moves that slider to the left, the sensitivity slider, as he moves that all the way to the left, you'll start to see the little graphic at the bottom start to move as I'm talking. Blah, 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 blah. So that starts animating. I'm just seeing it flicker at this point, but you can basically control and calibrate your microphone here. You do want to make sure that sensitivity slider is set to have a max value of 1. No, I know what it was. I'm sorry. Go to the mic volume in the hierarchy. If you click on that, which is up like 2 game objects. This is the one. Okay, so I have this set kind of low. I'll be honest. I have it. It's set with a min value of 0.01 and a max value of 0.1, and it's a little quiet. I'll be honest. So people can actually, when you're dragging that top slider where it says audio volume, you're getting a value between 0.01 and 0.1. And you could actually raise that cap up. You might have to raise it up to 0.2 or 0.3, depending on your app. And that's something I probably did just not to blow people's ears out. But it could get, you could get a lot of, it could be quite loud, depending on what you set that to. So, one of the things I wanted to explain about with StreamSDK though is, yes, it's a library, but it gives you access to all of these things. So there should be no need to access anything inside the library. And inside the documentation, of course, it explains all the getters and setters that the library has. And basically, this UI, as you're running through this shell, there's pretty much a drop down or a slider to control every single variable that you need to control. There are a few other, I think, public variables that you can gain access to that, if you're trying to do something custom or fancy, that are left exposed in case you wanted to do something cool that you're not able to do with sort of drag and drop. But for the most part, yeah, you should be able to drag and drop whatever you need, and you should be able to go through and create any options, sliders that you might need also to gain access to those things. I think some of the setters might not have an option slider or drop down. And the way the option slider and drop downs work is they automatically find the game object, or they automatically assign the message to be sent, which is going to be associated with a setter in the StreamSDK library based on the name of the game object that it's on. So for example, right now you're on the mic volume game object. So it automatically says, cool, this is going to be set mic volume. Unless you assign it, something, it's going to automatically assign itself to StreamSDK, and it's automatically going to assign that message. Now there is one place where we don't have that functionality. Oh, and it automatically saves preferences for all those things for you as well, so that you don't have to manage that anywhere. There's no mass dump of player preferences. So that's sort of decentralized way to manage the options, which is pretty cool. Let's see, if you go to options audio, I think that's, wait, let me think. No, I'm sorry. Let me think about this real quick. Yeah, go to options. No, I'm sorry, go to options network. That's where it is. So if you expand that, and since you're running the program at the same time, you might hit the back button in the actual game window so people can see what the menu is going to look like. And go to options and then network. Yeah, cool. So if you look at some of these are custom because these tie in really to Photon, not to StreamSDK, or they tie into the wrapper, the transporter, that is. If you click on Photon region in the And by the way, I think all this stuff for the most part is useful. I've got these little messages here, but the top stuff is useful only if you're using Photon Cloud, and the IP address. The IP address could be useful if you're trying to connect to, if you're overriding Photon server settings in the StreamSDK transporter, and you want to put your own IP address in there for the override. This would be where you could do that, and then you would have to hook and get this IP. You know, these IP addresses. You've got IP address A, B, C, and D for the different octets, and you'd have to access those via player preferences. But if you scroll down in the inspector on Photon region, we're going to see a little bit of a different set of circumstances. Keep scrolling down. Obviously, you've got the options that were plugged into that dropdown, and scroll down a little bit more until you see a StreamSDK dropdown component. So as you can see here, the component for this is set to the transporter. So this option sends set photon region, not to StreamSDK, but to the StreamSDK transporter. And in this case, instead of sending the actual string that is stored in that dropdown, it sends the option index. And that's, you know, obviously you can check or uncheck that. Some options that are drop-down menus, you might want to actually send the string value that's contained, you know, inside there. I think if you actually click on IP address A, I think that actually sends the string value in the hierarchy. And then, yeah, scroll all the way down. And that was a lot of numbers to punch in there, but to make that simple. So in this case, it's going to send to the StreamSDK transporter set IP address A, which is just, you know, essentially a callback inside of that script. And the send option index is unchecked, meaning that it's actually going to send the value in there. So it's going to send, you know, right now you've got 20 selected in the first in the A. So it's going to send an A. It's going to send a 20 for that. You know, whatever you have selected is what it will send to the script. So a little bit of a breakdown of the way the shell works. And that, you know, obviously the shell is, I think it's really there more so people can see how to interact with StreamSDK, you know, all the options that it gives you, or, you know, most of the options that it gives you essentially. But, you know, you don't have to use this whole shell. For example, with the SwapFire demo that I'm working on, that it has no shell like this. I have an auto connect that just sets the options inside StreamSDK that I want. It's just one script with like 5 or 6 lines of code, and it boots it up, gets the whole thing running instantaneously, and then I can connect with a remote machine and, you know, drive the whole experience. So everything from the menus to the, you know, the whole game just works as if I'm playing it natively at that point. I don't know. So do you have any questions, Jeremy?
No, I think you explained it pretty well. I think, I mean, we definitely saw that it worked, and like I said before, you know, nothing in this situation was optimal. So everything being good, you know, everything being up to date would make, you know, it work even better.
Yeah, and so I think the issue that popped up was that, just to reiterate for people that may be watching this whole video, Jeremy, I think, started with Unity 2019.3. Right on the first page of the docs, I believe it says, you know, Unity 2019.1.8, and so that was the target for this version. And you know how it is when you're developing software; you have to pick a target and stick with it. I do have a version for 0.3 coming. It is actually, it was a slightly radical departure in the jump from, you know, 1.8 to version to 2019.2, just because of the way that Unity handles its libraries now, which is differently. It's quite different, and they had a couple of issues in that version, so I decided to wait, because, you know, we're gonna have to fix some of this stuff. So I waited, and I think that it's pretty safe to dive back into version 2019.3, not with this version of StreamSDK, but for a very, very near term, a new version of StreamSDK will be all set up for that. I've already done most of the legwork for that. I just have to, there's a couple of more additions I want to make before I put out I don't want to put an update out just to get you on Unity 2019.3. So, well, I think with that, we're probably good to sign off, at least of the recording for Skype. So I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to try to figure out how to stop recording Skype. There it is, stop recording. So yeah, we've got a good 52-minute video here, and hopefully this will be useful for anybody on LinkedIn. Like I said, I'm still ready and willing to jump on a call with anybody and walk them through the software. But Jeremy, I appreciate you, manning the other side of this and dragging and dropping and doing all that stuff. And thanks for joining me, and everybody out there that's taking a look at StreamSDK. I hope this answered some questions. If not, shoot an email over to support@streamsdk.com, or ping me, and we'll get together and we'll do a custom call and address your questions. Thanks a lot. Good night.